other really important part of the story is the plot. And we're going to be focusing a little bit more on this today because we need to look at the events in a story. What happens at the beginning, the middle, and the end. So when we're looking at the sequence or the order of events, that's something that we really want to pay attention to. What is happening in the story? What's going on? What's the character doing? What are they doing in their setting? So that's super important. All right. So let's continue on, and I'm going to start by reading our story for today. Let's see if we can fill out this chart. It looks like really, hopefully not too complicated, but we have different parts of the story, which I just mentioned, the characters, the setting, the beginning, middle, and end of the story, and the problem and solution. Another way to think of a problem is kind of like the conflict. Let me know if you've heard of the word conflict in the story. And not in the story, but what is a conflict in the story? Let me know if you have any idea what conflict is. We didn't talk about it yesterday, but this is something else that's going to add on to the story elements. Problem, good. I'm hearing lots of friends saying, Aishna, Micaiah, Danvi are saying like a problem in the story. Some of us haven't heard of it before, and that's totally okay. Rose, I like that, the cause of a tantrum. That could be one way to look at it. It's kind of like the struggle. So that's why I've been going like this. It's like the problem or the struggle in the story. It's something that the main character is trying to do, right? It's something that the main character is trying to achieve or trying to overcome. But it's really hard for them to do that, maybe because of a bad guy. Let's think of the example from yesterday, the example of the 3 billy goats gruff from the story. The conflict in the story was that the billy goats who were trying to cross over the bridge, but because of the troll, kind of like the villain, right, the bad guy in the story, he really made it hard for the billy goats to cross over the bridge. That's okay, my friends. We're all learning new things today. Exactly everything. They couldn't cross it, but then they eventually found the solution, right? So they overcame the struggle. They got over that conflict in the story, and there was a solution. Excellent. All right. So our story for today is, I'm going to stop my sharing, but what I do want us to think about actually as we're reading our story of Jack and the Beanstalk today. Jack and the Beanstalk. We are going to be looking at all the different story elements in this story, and we're going to be focusing on sequencing. So let's talk about a little bit more about what is sequencing in a story. All right, so sequencing is putting the events of the story in order that they happened. In the order that they happened. So putting things in order. Let's take a look at this example. We like our food examples, right? So in this example, they are making a cake, right? Or a cupcake. So first you have the ingredients, then you're going to mix all those ingredients together. Next, you bake it in the oven, and then you can decorate and eat it. Okay. So the sequence is important because you can't eat it before you bake it. Friends, let me know if you can see my screen. You should be able to. Okay, perfect. Excellent. Thanks for letting me know. You can't bake it before you mix the ingredients together, right? So all of this needs to happen in an order, in a sequence, in the right order, the order in which they would actually happen. That's super important, okay? So just like that, that's important because, well, certain events need to happen in order in the story. Another way to look at it, and I want us to also pay attention to these words like first, then, next, last. These are really important for us in our mind, for us to think about what happened in what order, all right? So let me also think about it. Let's also think about it this way. It says sequence of events. Putting events of a story in time order. It's the order that it actually happened in the story. Looking at those keywords like first, next, then, finally, and what happens in the story to help the character solve the problem. Remember, another way for us to think about the word problem is the conflict. How did the characters get over that conflict? How did they resolve that conflict? Okay. Let me know if we have any questions before we move on. Any questions before I continue? No, we're good to go? Excellent. Well, here's a question that I have for you. Why is sequencing important while reading? Why even bother? Why can't I just read the story without worrying about sequencing? What do we think? Any ideas? Let me know in the chat. River, go ahead. What's your question? All right, I'm seeing different things from a Galaxy, Aberdeen, Ashman, Rose, Holly. Exactly. A lot of us are saying the same types of things. Myra, Harold, Amber, you can tell what's happening. And if we don't have the right sequence of events, it really won't make sense, right? Catherine, I'll end up reading it wrong. Anaya, excellent. Yeah, so we're trying to understand the story in the order that it happened in. First, then, after, later, finally, right? The question that I asked friends was, why is sequencing important while reading? That's the question that I had for you. And, oops, sorry, that's a sneak peek. Yeah, absolutely. So I think all of us have a lot of the same ideas. Danvi, so we know what's happening. Sonia, yeah, it's going to help us understand. Shravani, Roxana, absolutely. Okay, my friends, I think we've got a lot of background knowledge. We are ready to go to continue with the story. So let me go ahead and stop my share. You should be able to see me. And let's get started with reading. Excellent. So as we're reading, really try to think about what are the events. Let's keep those story elements in our mind about what's happening first, then next. And let's read Jack and the Beanstalk. Okay. Yesterday, we also talked about how looking at the cover of the book can really give us some information, important information. So even before we start reading, we can look at the information on the cover and get an idea for what the story is about. So I see Jack and the Beanstalk. Usually, if a character's name is in the title of the story, that means they're probably the main character in the story. So yesterday, we had the story of the 3 Billy Goats Gruff. Today, it's Jack and the Beanstalk, and you see that their names are in the title. So that gives us immediately some information about the character in the story. Taking a look at the illustrations is also important. So I'm seeing, all right, that's probably Jack. I've never met him before, but I'm guessing that's Jack because his name is on the cover and his picture is on the cover. And this is the Beanstalk. So I'm wondering if the Beanstalk is important in the story. Maybe it's a setting. Maybe, I don't know, it's part of the conflict. We're just going to have to read and find out. Here we go. Jack and the Beanstalk. I wonder what this cow has to do with the story. That's another character. All right, here we go. Jack and his mother were so poor that they never had enough to eat. One morning, they had nothing left at all. "You'll have to take the cow to market and sell her," Jack's mother said sadly. Oh, and we can really see on her face how sad she is and how worried she is. It's really important for us to look at the illustrations too, so we can understand how the characters might be feeling. On the way, Jack met a strange little man. "I'll give you these for your cow," said the little man, holding out 5 wrinkly, dried beans. "I need money, not beans," said Jack. Ah, but these are magic beans, said the little man. If you plant them, they'll grow into a beanstalk so tall it will touch the sky. Amazing, said Jack. He gave his cow to the little man, took the beans, and ran off home. I'm going to pause here for a quick second. Do you think Jack made a good choice? What do we think about the choice Jack made? So a lot of us are like, no, he did not make a good choice. Why not? Did he know this little old man? Everyone's saying no. Yeah, Pooja, Aiden, Cora, Shoshana, Chang, Myra, Anna. Yeah, no, he didn't. Well, he was like, well, I need money. I don't need beans. And the little old man said, no, these are magic beans. You'll get this huge beanstalk outside your door, and it will be huge, and you can touch the sky. And Jack was like, oh, okay, all right. Here's my cow. Here's my cow. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a pretty bad choice. He didn't know this man. He probably shouldn't have taken his word for it. But let's see what happens. That was an important event in the story. So how do you think his mom's going to feel? When she told him, go to the market, sell this cow. We have nothing else to eat. So we need some more money so we can buy food. And he's going to come home with what? What is he bringing when he comes home? Yeah, I agree. A lot of us are saying the mom's going to be angry. She's going to be unhappy. She's going to be upset. Yep. So he's bringing home. And what do these beans look like? Do they look like magic, shiny, glittery beans? No. Let's go back to the text. The author said that these beans were, there were 5 of them, but they were wrinkly and dry. Wrinkly, dry beans for an entire cow. Yeah. Well, all right, let's see what happens. So he's like, amazing, said Jack. He gave his cow to the little man, took the beans, and ran off home. All right, now he's home. But when he got home, he was in trouble. Big trouble. Jack, we need money, not beans, cried his mother, and she threw the beans out of the window. Look at her face. Super duper unhappy. Oh gosh, she's like, well, these are just useless beans. We don't even need these, so she just tossed them out the window. All right. Poor Jack went to bed hungrier and gloomier than ever. What were they to do? I have a question for everyone. I'm not sure what this word means in the sentence. It says gloomier than ever. I'm not sure what that means. It says poor Jack went to bed hungrier and gloomier than than ever. If I don't know what a word means, what can I do? Some of you are helping me out. You're saying it means sad. Some of us are saying we don't know. Okay. Yeah, I'm not either. Holly, you had a great idea. Thanks for helping me out. Oh my gosh, Eddie, you too. You're saying, look at the context clues. Really smart thinking. Yeah, I could look it up on Google. I could ask somebody else what that word means. But let's say, I really use text evidence. Oh, fantastic. I love that idea. Absolutely. So yeah, let me try that. Let me put all those together and let's figure it out. Okay, so we know that he's sad. That's kind of the context clues and the text evidence. We know that he's sad because he brought home these wrinkly beans. His mom was not happy. She just tossed those out the window. And now, I'm going to use the picture clues too. Camilla, thank you. Yes. Look at the picture clues. All right. Let me just zoom this in. What do you think it means? Gloomier than other. He definitely doesn't look happy. He looks sad, right? Kind of disappointed. His head is down. He's just like, right? Sad. Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Pooja and Dev. I don't think he looks mad. To me, he looks more like disappointed and sad, like he doesn't know what to do. So if there's a word that if I don't know what that word means, there's a couple things that I can do while reading. And maybe you can try this while you're reading and you don't know what the word means. Go ahead and look at the picture clues. Look at the text evidence, or look at the words in the story and try to think about what word would make sense. Oh, does gloomier come from the word gloomy? Like, I know when it's a gloomy day, it could be like dark and cloudy and rainy, and the weather looks really gloomy. That's something else that you can do. Do you know any part of that word, or does that word remind you of something else that you already know the meaning of? Okay. Good. So thanks for helping me out, friends. So I guess gloomier means sad or kind of really disappointed, miserable. Great word, Amina. Absolutely. Overcast weather. Yes, Olivia. Absolutely. Such helpful friends. I love this. Okay, let's keep going. So poor Jack went to bed hungrier and gloomier than ever. What were they to do? In the morning, even his room seemed gloomy. What do you think it looked like if his room seemed gloomy? How does a room look sad? That's weird. How does a room look sad? Elba, Quinn, Jocelyn, you're all saying dark. Rifa, Joshua, Marius. Yeah, dark and cloudy. Excellent, friends. Yeah, so it's not like the room is sad, but it's like gloomy. It's dark. It's like dim, not bright and sunny. I would say it's like the opposite of bright and sunny, right? It's probably just like dark and gloomy and just gray and kind of like a blah kind of day, right? Faded. Ooh, I love that, Roxana. Great job. Okay, wonderful. So why is his room looking gloomy? Probably because of what's outside blocking the sunlight. Let's find out what that is. In the morning, even his room seemed gloomy. His room seemed gloomy? Wait a minute. Outside his window was a giant beanstalk. Outside his window was a giant beanstalk so tall it touched the sky. Wait a minute, isn't that what that little old man said? Didn't he say it'll be so tall that it will touch the sky? Yeah. Thanks, Brayden. The beanstalk is covering the window. Absolutely. Wow. And wait, I've seen this picture before somewhere. So, Claire, yes, the front cover. Joshua and Nia, the front cover. Yes, that's why it's so important to pay attention to the front cover, too, because this might have given us a clue as to what is happening inside. Whoop. What is happening inside? Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see what happens. Okay, so now we have this giant beanstalk so tall that it touched the sky. Oh my goodness. I don't know what he's going to do next. Let's continue on reading. The little man was right, thought Joshua. He scrambled onto the giant beanstalk and climbed up and up and up. Okay, now this is only for those friends who have not read this story. What do you think is going to be, at the top of the beanstalk? It looks like he's about to climb up and up and up and up, and maybe he's trying to reach the very tippy top. For those friends who have not yet read the story, what do you think is going to be at the top? I'm seeing lots of great answers. I see clouds, a castle, castle in the sky, a dragon, a bunch of clouds. A lot of us think there's going to be clouds at the top. That would make sense.
I know, it's a house.
Maybe a little house, maybe gold. Like, I know that there's gold at the
house
bottom
one
of the
is
rainbow.
white.
A monster. Oh my
goodness. House is it.
Planets. Maybe he's just going to keep on climbing up to the top, up into space. All right, friends. Let's take
a house
and see what's going to be at the very top. Let's see. So what we're doing right now is we're making predictions. We're trying to make a smart guess. Not just like, well, I think it'll be a robot at the top, right? We're trying to make some sense of the story by saying, well, I wonder what could be at the top of the story. It doesn't say Jack and the Beanstalk and what he finds at the top of the beanstalk, but we're really making predictions. We're trying to make a smart guess about what we think could be at the top. A princess. That would be nice, right? A princess in the clouds. All right, let's read and find out what actually happens. And I hope we're thinking about sequencing too. All right, so he climbed up and up and up. And there, at the top, he found a giant castle. Arvin, you're right. Carson, yes, you're right. So it is a castle. Let's keep reading. With a giantess in front of it. Jack gulped. Then his tummy rumbled. Excuse me, he called out. Could you please spare me some breakfast? So a giantess is a female giant. He's like, maybe I'll at least find some food. Up here, I climbed all the way to the top on an empty stomach. I hope I'll find something I can eat. Let's continue reading. The giantess, so the female giant or the girl giant, picked him up. My husband munches and crunches little people like you, she said. I'll give you breakfast, but you'd better be gone before my husband gets home. Who do you think her husband is? Her husband is the giant. Yes, Iana. Rudra, yes. Alan. Her husband is the giant, and she's the giantess. Oh, gosh. She's like, okay, I'll give you a little bit of food, but then you need to leave. If you want to be safe, you need to leave. This is not safe for you to be here. My husband's going to gobble you up. She whisked Jack inside and set him down next to an enormous, crusty bread. Breakfast has never tasted so good. Imagine how large this is. It's like a mountain of bread. All right, so at least his tummy is not empty anymore. He's like, maybe some cheese to go with that bread. Yum. But then, stomp, stomp, stomp. Who do we think that is? What's making that sound? The giant. Yes. Quickly, quickly, hide in here. The giantess stuffed Jack into a pot just as the giant strode into the kitchen. Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell an Englishman, be he alive or be he dead. I grind his bones to make my bread. He is not a nice guy. Kind of reminds me of the troll from the Three Billy Goats Gruff. Not nice, right? Oh, I agree, Shalika. Yes, Micaiah. Okay. Where is he? Demanded the giant, and he started to search the table. You're imagining things, said his wife. Eat up your breakfast while I bring your hen. She's like, who? What are you talking about? There's no one here. It's just me. You're just imagining things. Hi, Braylon. Good job, Carson. So I'm trying to give a shout out to as many students as I can. All right, so she returned with the hen, and she put it on the table. Lay some eggs, commanded the giant. Clink! The bird laid a gleaming, golden egg. Elba, you're right, she's protecting him. Yes. With a grunt, the giant closed his eyes and began to snore. The giantess lifted Jack out of the pot. Run for your life, she whispered, but Jack had his eyes on the hen. He's like, ooh, what is this? The hen with the golden egg. It's like, this looks interesting. I hope he's not going to get himself in more trouble. Micaiah, yeah, I think you're right. Pippa, excellent. Yes, gleaming means sparkling. It means like shiny and glistening. Great job. All right. He grabbed the hen and fled for the door. The bird let out a squawk, which woke the giant, who saw Jack, and let out a furious roar. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. Does he have that hen? Hey, he's running away with that hen. Oh, goodness. Jack is always getting in trouble. Jack dived out of the door and onto the beanstalk with the giant hot on his heels, which means he's like, come back here. Come back here right now. You took my hen. Oh my goodness, Jack. What are you trying to do? Look at the giantess face. She's like, maybe I shouldn't have hit him, actually. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have hit him and protected him. Maybe that was not a good choice, Radhika. Yeah, I agree. Not nice. Let's see. Okay, Jack scrambled down the beanstalk as fast as his legs would carry him. He's like, running out of there. What is going on? Shrieked his mother from below. Is that a giant? Just bring the axes, Jack cried. He's like, bring the axe. Now, an axe is used to chop wood and other things. What do you think he could need an axe for? He's like, why is he asking for an axe at a time like this? Let's make another prediction. Leo, to make fire? Maybe, Joseph. That's a good prediction, yeah. Because I know when you kind of rub sticks together, that makes fire. Claire, Ariel, Alba. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the same answers. Catherine, Mirabelle, Braylon, Quinn, Samanyu. He might cut the beanstalk. Let's read and find out. Jack and his mother chopped and chopped at the beanstalk. It creaked and it wobbled and it toppled over sideways. The giant was flung far over the hills and they never saw him again. Whew, that was a close one. Oh my goodness. You can see Mom and Jack trying to chop down that beanstalk. Not easy. It's huge. It's like even wider than their house. And there goes the giant, far, far away, and they never saw him again. Oh my goodness, that was a close one. So glad they're safe. But wait, what about the hen? As for Jack and his mother, they lived happily ever after. Each morning, the hen laid a golden egg, so they grew rich, and Jack never climbed another beanstalk. The hen is in the window. Yes, the hen is in the window. Great observation. There she is, laying her golden eggs. What do you think Jack does with the golden eggs? How are they rich because of that? Sells it? Yeah, Olivia, Joshua, Suvan, Mirabelle, Arvin. Yeah, I agree. They probably sell it. My goodness, so interesting. Wow. That was an adventurous story. And I know that there's different versions of the story, Jack and the Beanstalk. There's different parts, but sometimes that's what the fun thing about fairy tales is, as we saw yesterday with the Three Billy Goats graph, that sometimes when the story is retold or told again, that there are different versions, or different parts that they added. Very interesting. Okay, I hope we were all thinking about sequencing, because let's do a little activity with sequencing and this story. So there were a lot of important events that happened, and it's really important for those events to happen in the right order, right? Because that's how it would make sense. That's how we'd really be able to understand what happened in the story. So let me share my screen, and let's try to put the events in the story in order. Here we go. All right, so we know that sequencing is important because it helps us to understand the story. So let's see. All right, here are a lot of the different events in this story. Let's take a look. Okay, now this is not in the right order. I'm just showing you different picture clues because we are going to put these in order here, in this sequence or order of events. So here's Jack, here's the beanstalk, and we're going to put these together, put these events in order together. Okay, so let's try to think about what happened first, and then what happened, and maybe even what happened last. So let's take a look. All right, here I have a castle. I have a cow. Oh, yeah, I remember hearing about the cow. Beans, exactly 5. The house. Jack climbing up the beanstalk into the clouds. The mom. This kind of looks like a goose or a duck, but I think this is the hen with the golden egg. And then lots of money. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at what happened first. First in the story, let's see. Well, I know this didn't happen first. In fact, when did this happen? When did they ever see money, or when did they ever get rich? Rohan, Micaiah, Elba, Rifa, Catherine, I think, yeah, Mira, Varsha, McCade, Elsie. You're right, they didn't have food in the beginning, which is why the mom said to sell the cow. So at the end, should I go ahead and start by putting this one at the end? Should I start there? Yeah, okay, let's do that. That's not what I was planning to do, but I think that would make a lot of sense, is just to go ahead and add this in to the end, because yeah, they didn't have any riches or wealth in the beginning. They got rich from the golden egg. You're right. Okay, so which one would be next in the story? Oh, sorry, not next, because nothing came from the end. Now let's talk about the beginning. Okay, so the beginning of the story, we know that there was Jack and his mom, and they were really hungry. They didn't have food to eat. So the cow, well, the mom told Jack to sell the cow, right? Okay, so should we have start with mom first? Because Jack and his mom lived together, yeah? And then she asked him to sell the cow. All right, so I'm going to start with mom, and then I'm going to put the cow. All right, let's do this. Thanks so much for your help, everyone. I'm so glad we were all paying attention and so focused, because this really helps us to understand the story. Here goes mom. All right, next is the cow. So let me put that in next, right? Because he was supposed to sell the cow and get some money, right? But that's not what he did. All right. He didn't sell the cow. Instead, did he meet somebody? Not the giant, before he met the giant. Pooja, Kayla, Luke, yeah, the little old man, you're right. And I don't see the old man here, but the old man did give him Javi and Kaden. Yeah, I'm hearing beans, right? He got those beans, and that's right. And he wasn't supposed to. Remember how we talked about that? We said, well, this was not a good idea. Absolutely. So I'm going to put beans in next. I'm going to put the beans in next. That's what happened next in the story. All right, the story is really starting to make sense now. We have the mom. She told Jack to sell the cow because they didn't have money. And then instead of selling the cow, he actually just got these beans. You're right. And then remember how when he sent when he came home and he was like, hey, I got these really cool beans. Mom was like, what? Oh my goodness, Jack, what did you do? She was really upset. And she was like, these beans are useless. We need money. We don't have money for food. And she just threw those out the window. Once they were thrown out the window, Jack felt really gloomy, right? He didn't feel so good. He was hungry. His problem was not solved. So, remember? Then it said his room was gloomy too. Why was his room gloomy? Because what was outside the window? The beanstalk was outside the window. Let me see if there's anything about the beanstalk in my pictures. Well, I see Jack climbing up the beanstalk. You're right. The beanstalk was blocking the sun. You're right, Raquel. All right. So I think can you help me out? Is that what's happening next in the story? Yes, Adichie? Nora, Jack climbing? I agree. He climbed all the way up, and that's what happened next in the story. He climbed up this beanstalk. What was on top of the beanstalk? All the way up, up, up. The Mackenzie, Joseph, Yes, the castle. So let's get the castle next. What do you think? Is that the next like important event in the story? I think so. Here we go. So we're adding in, after Jack climbed the beanstalk, there was a big castle up on top. And who did he meet? The giant and the giantess. Yes, absolutely. All right, then what happened next in the story? We're almost done, actually. I think there's just a couple left. In the castle, he met the giant and the giantess, and then you're right, then they met. I'm seeing lots of friends saying Hannah, Jalen, Nash. He met the golden hen, and remember, he actually took the golden hen. The giantess protected him. The giant wanted to catch him, but he grabbed this hen and he ran out of there. He ran all the way down. And he said, quick, get those axes. His mom saw him, and then they chopped down the beanstalk. The giant went away over the hill. They now have this golden hen forever in their house. So when he came back home, he's back home safe. But are they in the same situation? Nope. They are a lot better off now because of this golden hen and her golden eggs that he sells for money. Awesome. Look at what we just did. We just put together all the important events in the story using these picture clues and thinking about the order. So, Mom and Jack lived in a house. They didn't have much money. They were really poor. She asked him to sell the cow. And instead of selling the cow, well, he did sell the cow, but not in the market. He got beans for them. The mom threw the beans out the window. He climbed up the beanstalk where he met the giant and the giantess in the castle. He also met the golden hen, which he grabbed, climbed down the beanstalk, went back home, and Mom and Jack lived happily ever after, and they had lots of riches. Absolutely. I'm seeing some friends say the house could be at the beginning. Sure, I agree. Maybe because that's the setting. The house could be at the beginning. But since the house also represents like the ending of the story, that Jack didn't live up in the castle, but he came back down to live with his mom, and they lived happily ever after with the gold and the riches. I think that also could fit in the end. What do we think? It could be in the beginning because it's a setting, but it could also, that same setting was where the story ended, but in a better way. Okay, so I think both of it makes sense. I see some of us, Adithri, I hope I'm saying your name right there. You're talking about the setting of the story. Absolutely. The setting was castle. The setting was the house. So yes, absolutely. These are all settings in the story. And we know about the characters in the story. Mom, Jack, the giant and giantess. Excellent work, friends. What do you think the conflict was in the story? What was the problem in the story? Amina, I'm saying, I'm seeing a couple of different great answers. So Mary's saying they're poor. The giant wanted to eat him. Jack had to get away safely. So there's a couple of different things that were happening in the story. The main conflict or their main problem in the story, great job, friends, great thinking. Yeah, the main problem in the story was that Jack and his mom were super poor. And that's what got resolved at the end of the story, that they lived happily ever after because Jack, which I don't know if it was a good idea or not for him to just take that golden hen, but that is the choice that he made. And because of that, they were able to live without being poor anymore, and they always had money. So absolutely. All right, my friends, so we still have about 12 minutes, which is perfect timing, because I have, just like yesterday, how we had a different version of the Billy Goat's Gruff, I want us to listen to a story which is related to Jack and the Beanstalk, but it's a little bit different. So remember how in the beginning I was talking about how some of our friends are from Texas? Well, this is perfect because the setting of our next story is going to be in Texas. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I think we'll have just enough time to finish up that story. So I hope you enjoy this. This story is called Whenetta and the Cornstalk, and it's a Texas fairy tale. So we're going to listen to this story, Whenetta and the Cornstalk. And this looks similar to Jack and the Beanstalk, but I wonder how this story is similar and different to the one that we just read. Let's take a look. Give me a Texas fairy tale. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you can hear the story okay, and you should be able to see my screen as well. Excellent. All right, let's continue.
Once a whip of a girl named Whenetta lived with her mom on a ranch in the poorest, scrubbiest part of Texas. They worked hard as 8-legged mules, but barely scraped by. One long, dry summer, the well bottomed out, the pastures dried up, and the longhorn cattle got so thin it took 3 of them standing side by side to cast a shadow.
I'm noticing a few similarities. So Whenetta lives with her mom, just like Jack lived with his mom, and Whenetta is also really poor. They also don't really have money. Friends, if you can't hear it, please make sure your sound is turned up on your device that you're listening in from. Okay, wonderful. I'm going to continue on. But so far, we're already seeing similarities between Whenetta and Jack in that they're both poor and they both live with their mom. Let's continue on.
Whenetta and her ma had to sell off the longhorns until only one was left. Finally, Ma gave up altogether. "We've run out of money to buy feed, Whenetta. You'd best sell that last critter before we starve." Whenetta headed out with a longhorn.
So there's a cow in this story too.
After a while, she met a stranger. "Howdy, missy. Where are you taking that sorry-looking critter?" "I aim to sell him," Whenetta answered. "How's about trading him for a handful of magic corn?" "Magic corn?"
Magic corn? Interesting. I'm seeing some magic corn kernels right here. Just like Jack was supposed to sell his cow, but he got magic beans instead. Oh my goodness. Whenetta seems a little bit like Jack. I wonder what choice she's going to make. Let's see,
asked Whenetta. "What does it do?" "These corn kernels will bring you good luck, little lady. We sure could use some luck. It's a deal." When she got home, Whenetta dropped the kernels in Ma's hand. "Look," she said with a grin. "Magic corn." Ma frowned. "Well, you must be chuckle-headed, girl. The only magic this corn's got is the disappearing kind." She tossed them out the window. Whenetta felt lower than a coyote in a canyon. How could she make it up to Ma? The next morning, Whenetta looked out the window. A giant cornstalk blocked the sun.
So interesting. That's the same thing that happened to Jack. This mom was like, "Are you kidding me?" And she tossed those corn kernels out the window, just like the mom tossed those beans out the window. And Whenetta felt so sad. "Yeah, Shalikat's blocking the sun too. Excellent thinking. Yes." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I feel really bad." Just like Jack felt bad or gloomy. And let's see what happens. I wonder who else is going to be in the story. What other characters?
She hurried outside. "That looks like magic to me," she said, "and I aim to find me some luck." She started climbing. When she broke through the clouds, Whenetta could hardly believe her eyes. There was the biggest ranch she'd ever seen. She walked to the front door. It was so huge she could barely reach over the doorstep. She gathered her courage and knocked. A giant woman opened the door. "Why, you're as pretty as a blue bonnet. Well, where'd you come from?" "I climbed a giant cornstalk, ma'am," answered Whenetta. The giant woman picked up Whenetta. "I reckon you've come to take back the things my husband stole from your ma years ago." She set Whenetta on the giant table. "You best have a bite to eat, and be careful, darling. My husband's a mean un. Whenetta was chowing down on a great big.
Didn't the giantess say the same thing? She's like, you better be careful. My husband, he'll munch and crunch you. So this one is the same thing. There's a giant too. You got it, Whitney. Good.
Chicken fried steak when a loud, angry voice called, "Fee, fi, fo, fat. I think I smell a cowgirl brat. Fee, fi, fo, feet. Chicken fried cowgirls, what I'll eat." "Hide," the giant woman whispered. Whenetta hid behind a bowl of beans just as the giant stomped into the room. The giant yanked open a pantry door. Out strolled a longhorn, no bigger than a barn cat. He stroked its ear, and a golden cowpat fell to the floor. "I love gold," the giant shouted. Next, he took out a teeny lariat and whirled it backwards over his head. He looped it around a thimble-sized bucket. "I love this rope. It never misses." Finally, he tilted the tiny bucket over a huge tub. Water poured into the tub, filling it. "I love that bucket. It never runs out of water." He dropped the rope on the floor. He looped the bucket around his pinky and climbed into the tub to soak. Soon, he fell asleep. Whenetta took a deep breath. "With those things and some hard work, Ma and I can make our own luck." Whenetta climbed off the table and tiptoed to the tub. She picked up the lariat and lassoed the longhorn. But when she tried to slip the bucket off the giant's pinky, he woke up. Whenetta hightailed it to the cornstalk and scrambled to the ground where Ma was waiting. Ma gasped, "Why, that looks like my little longhorn missing all these years." She rubbed its ear, and sure enough, a golden cowpat fell to the ground. "It's him, Ma," she said. "Now we can buy a new herd of cattle." "Whenetta, darling," said Ma, "sometimes I wonder if that taco brain of yours is a bit short of filling. Gold or no gold, we can't raise cattle without water. That's why I'm going back, Ma,
Oh my gosh.
to get the magic bucket." Whenetta hid the lariat under her hat and climbed the cornstalk again. The giant's wife let her in. "I need that bucket, ma'am," said Whenetta. The giant woman nodded. "But be extra careful. My husband's mad as fire ants." From the hallway, the giant's voice thundered. "Fee, fi, fo, fin. I smell that cowgirl brat again. Fee, fi, fo, fits. I'll cook myself some cowgirl grits." As the giant stormed into the kitchen, Whenetta ran right between his boots and grabbed the bucket. "Well, if it ain't the seasoning for my grits," the giant shouted. He stomped after her. Whenetta raced to the cornstalk. She almost got there when the giant grabbed her. "I feel hungry, and you look tasty," he roared. Whenetta whirled the lariat. "Do your stuff, rope!" But she lassoed the giant's nose and tugged real hard.
Oh gosh.
"Arr!" yelled the giant, dropping Whenetta. Whenetta leaped on the cornstalk. The giant climbed after her. "Fee, fi, fo, foul. That cowgirl brat has had it now. Fee, fi, fo, few. That cowgirl's gonna be barbecued."
Oh my goodness.
Around with the axe. "Bridle your jaw, mister. That cowgirl's my daughter." The instant Whenetta leaped off the cornstalk, Ma swung that axe, and in 3 strong blows, chopped that cornstalk down. Thwunk! The giant crashed to the ground, making a deep, giant-shaped hole. Whenetta tipped the bucket over the hole. "I hope that giant can swim," she said. In no time, the hole became a fine lake. With plenty of water, grass grew on that ranch once again. With the golden cow patties, Whenetta and her ma bought a new herd of longhorn. As for the giant, he bonked his head so hard in that fall, it knocked the mean right out of him. He and his wife stayed on the ranch and worked alongside Whenetta and her mom. And they all lived happy as June bugs ever after. Whenetta and the Cornstalk, a Texas fairy tale.
All right, friends. Some of you asked about the author and who was reading it. So this is called Whenetta and the Cornstalk, written by Helen Kepman. So I hope you enjoyed that story. There were definitely some similarities, right, for this story compared to this one, The Jack and the Beanstalk. I liked how at the ending, who was reading it? Let me go back and see. Some friends are asking who read the story. Let me take a quick look. I'd have to. Well, if you go to Mrs. Shepherd's videos, I think it would be there. So go ahead and check out Mrs. Shepherd's videos. She's the one who's reading the story, and I think she did an awesome job. I really liked how in Whenetta's story, she didn't just take that magic bucket, but she went back and she asked for permission. What do you think? I thought that was really nice. Oh, you have the same story? Awesome, good. Sometimes it's fun to read like similar stories or stories that kind of have the same plot or the same events and similar sequence of events, like with Whenetta and the Cornstalk. In the end of that story, they weren't poor anymore and they had everything they needed because of the magic bucket. And in this story, Jack and the Beanstalk, that was also the case. So in both stories, there was a similar sequence of events with the beans and the beanstalk or the cornstalk, with a giant, with something magical. And in the end, it was a happy ending. So I hope you all enjoyed both stories for today. And sometimes when you're reading at home, try to see if there's a different version of the story online or at the library. And it's really fun to do some compare and contrast. It's really fun to look at both stories and say, well, this is similar or this is different. And remember, the sequence of events is really important to the story, the order in which the events happen, which helps us to understand it. So that's all for today, friends. Thank you so much for joining our fairy tale fun in our fairy tale story time. So I will see you tomorrow at the same time. Have a wonderful rest of the day and happy reading. Bye, friends. See you later. Bye, everyone. See you tomorrow.